Hello and welcome to the First Rate Law podcast. My name is Bobby Rate, and with my co host Tom James, we're going to talk to you a little bit today about what makes a good client. And we have a lot of experience knowing what makes a good client because Tom and I have been doing this for a combined 50 plus years. We have learned a lot about how to advise clients to help themselves within their case. And I'm going to start out by talking about the client that comes to us and always tells us, this isn't me. I'm not the kind of person that sues. I'm not the kind of person that brings a lawsuit. And what we always tell them is the same thing. You were injured due to no fault of your own. You were injured and you're going to be suffering from these injuries for the foreseeable future. You have a choice. You can suffer and you can get zero as far as compensation, or you can understand this. There's auto insurance. Auto insurance has a purpose. One of those purposes is that there's liability coverage if you're ever involved in an accident and you injure someone else. Someone else injured you, we tell the client. They have insurance, and that's what we look for in a case. We look to compensate the individual through an insurance policy for damages, for injuries, and for prolonged need for medical care. So, one of the things that clients tend to do when they come to us and say this is they tend to not want to go to the doctors, let's say, not want to document their injuries, let's say. And Tom speaks to every one of our clients about that being the most important thing. Because if we are going to get compensation, the way we get that compensation is by reaching out to the other insurance company for the at fault driver in an auto accident case. And that at fault driver has insurance coverage to cover the injuries if those injuries are proven. And that's how we prove them. So, the number one thing we see when clients make a mistake is that they don't treat. But what makes a good client is the client that understands they have to go to the doctor. They have to document their injuries. They have to tell the doctor about not just what they're feeling now, but also about what might have happened in the past. In other words, a pre existing condition or a pre existing injury. So that doctor who then does a report has full information. Tom, you sit down with our clients all the time and you tell them how important that is.
Oh yeah. I mean, what we really stress, and especially we just had a new client meeting the other day, and we stress to them all the time. Look, the number one job that you have, and I'll tell them that this is your number one job. It's to get better, right? Get better, and the only way that you're going to get better is that you go actively seek out this medical treatment to make you better. So if a doctor says, "Hey," um, due to your injury to your shoulder, I'm going to prescribe you 24 sessions of physical therapy. The client can't turn around and say, you know what? That's inconvenient for me to go to, right? I'm going to go to 2 or 3, and then the rest I'll do at home. And while that might seem like it makes common sense, it does not make sense in the grand scheme of things. Because number one, right, you need to get to the doctor and you need to get to the therapist so that you can understand what those exercises are, again, to improve your health. But then on top of that, let's say you're doing something wrong at home. It's just going to further exacerbate the injury and maybe affect your recovery as well. And then number three, exactly like you mentioned, Bobby, it destroys our paper trail, right? It destroys our ability to prove through evidence the extent of the injuries, because now there's no one taking notes. There's no one taking account of what's happening today, the loss of range of motion, these types of things. So absolutely, you have to be aggressive in getting your treatment and following through, listening to the doctor's advice on all of these things, because not only will it help your health, obviously, but it's going to create that paper trail that we need. Along those lines, and I don't want to like string this out forever, but remember that when we're negotiating against an insurance company to get you compensation, this is a corporation, right? These corporations are billion-dollar corporations, and they don't just throw money out without documentation, right? If wherever you work, I'm sure you have to supply whatever support you have if you're turning in an expense report or these other things. So the medical records act as that evidence that supports the injuries. And that's going to really work in your favor in two ways, right? You get better, and then also we can get you some compensation. So that also goes with, and I'm kind of building on this, is that we need clients that listen, right? Everyone needs clients that listen, whether it's here in the law or it can be other things, right? Medical, like doctors need patients that listen. If I'm getting my landscaping done, right? And the landscaper comes in and, you spend all that money to have everything redone in your front yard, but you didn't listen to the landscaper to put in a sprinkler system to keep it alive, it's not going to work out well. So make sure that you are, and this kind of builds on the whole thing, but make sure that you're listening to our advice, right? Listening to the doctor's advice. That makes for a very good client.
I mean, we're the experts in that area, right? And if you're going to an attorney and you're not going to listen to what they're saying, you don't have faith in the attorney. It's probably not going to work out for a multitude of reasons because of that fact. And that's why I say, and that's why I start out by talking about the client that generally comes to us and they're not the quote unquote type of client that sues. Well, we explain to them in our X amount of years of experience, it's not a matter of suing, and you've seen other episodes perhaps where we talk about the fact we don't always sue. In fact, most of the time we don't have to file a lawsuit to get you compensation or money. And the truth is, you come to us, we explain to you why it's okay to go forward with a claim, and then we continue to explain to you various aspects of your case. And if you don't listen to the quote unquote experts, the repercussion is going to be you're not going to get the biggest bang for your buck or the most compensation you could. And part of that whole medical thing is a good client tells us everything. I mean, Tom and I also had a client recently, and we do a very nice job of explaining to them, listen, we get it. You have in the back of your mind, maybe way in the back of your mind, something that's bothering you because maybe you had an injury similar 10 years ago, or maybe you had a lawsuit and you're thinking, do I tell my attorneys about it? If you don't tell your attorneys about those types of things, we can't help you. The corollary to that, you do tell us, we can work with you. You have to tell us, but you also have to tell your doctors. And that's what I mentioned early on in that whole thing about documenting your case. Document the before, the after, make sure your doctor fully understands, because as long as we can attribute an injury or an aggravation to the crash, we're good. We can help you.
And building on that, kind of another point of how to be a good client for your attorney is that you have to understand that there is work involved from your side of things. Now, I don't mean you're filling out court paperwork and stuff, right? That's the stuff that we do, and I don't mean contacting the other side's insurance company. We'll take care of all of that. But certainly, from the client's perspective, there's certain things that we absolutely have to have from you. Things like we need to know your medical history, exactly like Bobby was talking about. If we don't know an accurate medical history, it becomes very difficult for us to advocate, right? To fight for you. And say that your injuries came from the car crash if all of a sudden we're surprised because the defense attorney found out through some insurance search that you already had a prior case with a back injury 5 years before this happened, and you thought you might be able to keep that under wraps, right? It never stays. I mean, it never stays under wraps. It's out there all over the place. Between these insurance companies, they can gather information about you and the claims that you've made. So in terms of this work, right, we need to know your full medical history. We also need to know what's going on with your treatment. We don't have a direct line to Corwell, or we don't have a direct line to the hospital at the University of Michigan so that they give us updates. They don't give us updates. So if you're going and getting your treatment and your doctor recommends that you have surgery, right, please give us a call. Let us know. These are all very important factors that we will then add to our demand in our negotiations with the insurance company again, so that we can better fight for you. I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in the day, back when we had infomercials, there was that Ron Popeil, right? That guy was famous. He was so famous because he had that Ronco machine where you just set it and forget it. I think that's what they called it. And that was before you could buy all the rotisserie chickens at Kroger and Costco. But he would have this machine and they would say it all the time. You just set it and forget it, right? That's not a lawsuit. I'm gonna do that whole thing just to say lawsuits are not set it and forget it events. They do require work from your perspective, and that's an ongoing thing throughout the case.
They do, and part of that is being honest. And I almost think it goes without saying what makes a good client. You got to be honest. You got to be honest with everybody. Tom and I have dozens of stories of whether we were in a statement given to the insurance company or in a deposition where the client was saying, I can't do X, Y, and Z. And then a month later, we get a video of them doing X or Y or Z. You have the client that I don't take out the garbage anymore. And then all of a sudden, you get from the other side a video of them loading a big screen TV into the back of their pickup truck. Your case is over, right? Honesty is the best policy. It is here too. And again, if there are problems, some people call them warts, if there's red flags, if there's those types of things, you got to share them with us. You got to tell us about them and we'll work with it. If we don't know about it because you're not being honest, you're either exaggerating or flat out lying about something, it's going to end up 9 times out of 10 anyway, burning you and therefore hurting your case. So that's a very big one too. One of the ones that I harp on it from our end as well, is communication. Tom and I agree on this 100%. We have to have our clients fully informed all along the way, fully able to reach out to us if they have questions. It is a two-way street, however. The best clients are constantly communicating with us. And I'm not talking about calling us every day and asking us a question, right? What I'm talking about is if they do have a question, they call us. If something is going on with their health care, with their doctors, with a change, they call and let us know. There's never any question that we're going to hear from that client at some point if something important is happening. And to me, that's one of the most important attributes of what makes a good client.
Yeah, those are all great points, and so I guess I want to leave you guys with one parting point. And this is something that's just recently come up. We didn't run into this as much 10 years ago, 20 years ago, but lately, because we have ChatGPT, we have Gemini, we have Claude, we have all of these AI programs. I can tell you a lot of times we have these newer clients. We're seeing it more in the newer clients that are second guessing what we say, and they're saying, well, chat says I can get this. Well, Gemini says that you should be doing this in your investigation. And while I do appreciate, right, I appreciate clients who do their own homework, I appreciate clients that do their own research. Don't assume that whatever AI program that you're typing in these prompts into knows more than we do, right? Or is able to take the law and the facts of your case and apply them to Michigan law the way we do. Because again, it's not there yet. Maybe one day we don't need attorneys at all, right? Who knows? Maybe we don't need doctors, attorneys, politicians, any of them. Chat can just replace them all, but it's not today. So one example that I recently got from a client is he sent me this thing and he said, "Hey, why aren't we asking for this certain type of damage?" Right? It relates to wage loss. It actually relates to lost earning capacity in my auto case. We should be, and chat says we should be. Well, the one thing that chat hasn't figured out, right, is the nuances of Michigan law. And I know we covered a bunch of it in prior episodes, but Michigan law is unique. You can't say, oh, my friend in Ohio, they did this. Why don't we replicate it and get good results? No. Or, hey, my friend in Illinois had this happen. With his case, he was able to get more money. Can we do that in Michigan? No, we can't. We have a very unique law here in Michigan. And sure, there's ways to prompt AI programs here and there, but still it's not there. Take our advice, right? If we're telling you that this is a certain path, we're telling you this is the law, these are the recoverable damages, there's a reason why we've been successful with 50 years, right? 50 plus years of experience doing this. And it's because we know what we're doing.
Kind of the overseeing feature of the client you're talking about, they don't fully trust us. And that, in my mind, is of the most important features of a client that we really like, that tends to do well with their case. They came to us for a reason. Do your best to trust us. If you have questions, obviously ask. But the clients that are always second guessing, always, criticizing this and that, I get it, right? Have thick skin, and we do. But the really good clients, they came to us, they're looking at us as experts and professionals, they trust us, it's much easier to work with them to get them that compensation because that trust is there and they're not questioning and not giving us ideas of alternate ways we could do our job, right? So it's the trust thing. It's, you know, you don't need to make your own case. You don't need to tell us about the best way to litigate a case because we're the attorneys. And that's a really good client, is they trust us and they're here to listen to us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And along those lines, we're going to be building out that section of our website too that'll help provide these pointers, on what to do, all these other things. And don't forget, right? Our website is www.firstrate.law.com. And that's the word first spelled out FIRST, rate RAITT law.com. And you can always reach us at 866 rate law as well, right? So that's a toll-free number, 866 RAITT LAW. Thanks so much, and we look forward to the next episode. And the next episode, we're going to cover the common questions that we get, that clients come up with, certain things that come up, and we're going to be able to answer those for you. So we're excited about that one too.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.